Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. My name is Taneol, and I'm an anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry veterans to come together to share their knowledge, ideas, thoughts, and best practices with one another, as well as with upcoming future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings of all our industry stalwarts. We also hope that by bringing together such leaders on one platform, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. We hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other great leaders by spreading this knowledge amongst everybody, as great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone as they help us to identify, nurture, and work on trade secrets that have already proven a success formula for so many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such military giant on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Air Marshal Sreekumar Prabhakaran. Our honor is extreme, sir, to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
He is a distinguished retired fighter pilot with an exemplary record of 5,000 hours of accident-free flying over his illustrious 4-decade-long career in the Indian Air Force, and a consummate leader whose career is marked by exceptional qualities of dedication, strategic acumen, and unwavering commitment to aviation safety and international diplomacy. As a veteran aviator, he has left an indelible mark on the IEF through his diverse experiences and commendable leadership. His tenure as the Air Officer Commander-in-Chief of the Western Air Command up until 2022 was a testament to his exceptional abilities. He led one of the largest operational commands in the IAF WAC, encompassing over 50,000 personnel, effectively making it equivalent to the 10th largest air force in the world. So, Air Marshal Prabhakaran, to begin with, could you share some insights into your distinguished 4-decade-long career in the Indian Air Force, highlighting key milestones and experiences?
That's basically for aviation buffs. They would understand the difference between 500 and 5,000. Yes, like you rightly said, I spent exactly 40 years in the Indian Air Force. And I think I was extremely fortunate as a youngster to have, whatever you may say, fate or destiny, to have been guided into joining the Indian Air Force. When I joined the National Defense Academy as a young 18-year-old boy, I was not too sure whether I want to be in the Army, Air Force, or Navy, but somehow the thrill of flying was always there. So I opted for the Air Force, and I consider myself extremely fortunate that the Air Force gave me this, wonderful time for 40 years. Having retired, I'm of the older generation. So we grew up flying the MiG-21s. So I remember as a youngster when I first became fully operational on the MiG-21. When you say fully operational, what it means is that you are now ready to go to war. I mean, should the need arise, and you're fully capable of handling the aircraft and all its roles. So that was a great moment for all of us when we achieved that. And then after having spent 4 years in the operational squadron, I went on to become a flying instructor. See, some of us, again, are fortunate to get selected for the flying instructors course, which we do in Chennai. And after 6 months of successfully completing the course, we go on to become instructors. And to tell you the truth, that 1.5 years that I spent as an instructor on single-engine jets, that was followed again by 2 years in a MiG-21 training squadron, were some of the best times that I had. Why do I say best? Because for those in the teaching field, they will understand, till I became an instructor, whatever I did had to be for my own upgradation, for my own standing in the Air Force. But once you become an instructor and you're interacting with these young, smart guys, and you teach them flying, you teach them ground subjects, you mentor them, and you bring them up. And today, when I see so many of my pupils doing so well, not just in the Air Force, but outside, it gives you a tremendous sense of satisfaction. So I as an instructor, what the thing that came to my mind was that, You get much more satisfaction when you give than when you take something. So I really, sometimes I hear teachers and those in the teaching profession saying that, ours may not be a well-paying job or doesn't give you much satisfaction. I totally disagree. The sense of satisfaction you get is tremendous. Anyway, after that, once again, I was fortunate to have been selected to join the formation aerobatic team of the Indian Air Force. Now, the Indian Air Force has a 9-aircraft aerobatic team, which is the only one in Asia. And I think there are very few 9-aircraft aerobatic teams in the world, maybe 3, maybe 4. That's about it, even now. So back in 1996, we were the pioneers. We started with a 4-aircraft and then a 6-aircraft team. And of course, we were flying the Bangalore manufactured Kiran jet trainers, which were being used by the Air Force, purely Indian aircraft. And people said it's not possible with the limited capability of the aircraft to fly 9 aircraft. But we managed to do that. And I think my team did a wonderful job, and it was another great experience to be as part of the team. And I was also fortunate subsequently to command the team as the team leader. So under my command, we were, for the first time, the team went and performed in an air show abroad to Singapore. And it was actually quite challenging because the aircraft did not have the kind of modern navigation systems which present aircraft have. The aircraft did not have the range. So in order to reach Singapore, we had to land at probably 12 or 13 bases en route. So there were a lot of logistics and maintenance challenges apart from flying the route. But I had an exceptional team under me. It was a very small team. I had 13 pilots under me, 1 administrative officer, 2 engineering officers, and a small team of 50 technicians. And throughout my life in the Air Force, when I became senior, I used to often tell people that a small team, but a totally professional outfit where every man stood up for himself, did more than what was expected, and we could achieve whatever we did. So especially those 3 years as the team leader, I think even today, those of us who know about the Sreekumar team, now of course they fly an even better aircraft, the Hawk. So whenever I've flown with them, I've often flown with them. Of course, I tell my ex-team members that if we had this aircraft, things would have been, So yeah, those 3 years were absolutely memorable. And I think it was memorable not because we did all these displays, safe displays, doing aerobatics at 100 meters above ground level. No, I think it was memorable because of that wonderful team which I had. The technicians, the engineering officers, and of course my pilots. And they had full faith and in me because, as the leader, they are formatting on me. So if I make a mistake, I take the entire team down, which has happened to one of the aerobatic teams in the world earlier. So even today, whenever I meet these young guys, they are, some of them are in the Air Force, some have left the Air Force, but it's always wonderful to see them. So Sreekumar was a wonderful time. And in the Air Force, after you finish your command, that is the end, I would say end, but your relative end to your operational flying. It's about, after about 20, 22 years of service. After that, you get on to the administrative side. You become more of a desk man. And then I was fortunate to command 2 air bases as a group captain. And that's, again, the first time when I remember when I was commanding one of the bases at about close to 4,000 people under me. And well, Air Force doesn't really train you how to suddenly jump from one place to the other. They give you a very short time. So you have to learn quickly, learn the ropes quickly, and then manage them. I mean, it's a big HR challenge, if not maintenance or logistics or flying challenges. But then again, that's one good thing about being in the Air Force, I've always had the pleasure of working with exceptional people, really. And after 40 years, I remember in my farewell speech in Delhi on in the last week of December last year, I said, if I had to pick guys, I don't think I can name guys on my fingertips who can be considered as bad or who can even be considered as slightly below average. That's the kind of fortune you have when you work in the Air Force. Okay, so those were two wonderful tenures. Then, of course, the Air Force selected me to become a defense attaché, and I was sent to the Embassy of India in Cairo, where I spent about 3.5 years. And apart from Egypt, I was also the DA for Cyprus, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Djibouti. Another absolutely wonderful experience. And I wish more Air Force officers could have got that exposure, because very few of us are fortunate to get that opportunity, one or two probably in a year. And it really opened up my eyes, interacting with diplomats, with ambassadors, handling our prime minister's visit for the NAM summit when it was held in Egypt. This I'm talking about way back in from 2007 to 10. I was there. The president's visit to Cyprus, interacting with the various chiefs. It was something totally out of the Air Force, but at the same time, I think it only added and embellished my career and my understanding of how the world works, and it's not just the Air Force. And then, of course, got into slightly senior ranks, and when I was the assistant chief of air staff working directly under two of the eminent chiefs that we had, I was closely involved in two of the recent conflicts that we had. One with a western neighbor, one with a northern neighbor, and of course we were very fortunate that it remained as limited conflicts, did not go beyond that. But that again was an eye-opener, and when you're actively involved in these kind of activities, you learn so much.
Yeah.
Before I became the CNC, which you mentioned, I was the senior air staff officer of Southwestern Air Command, based at Gandhinagar in Gujarat. Now, the SASO is the second man in the command. In the Air Force, we've got 7 commands, which operate sort of independently and report to the chief. So SWAC was the second largest command, and as a SASO, I was the number 2 in the command and head of all flying operations in the command. That means right from the southern parts of Rajasthan down to Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa. That area was my responsibility. And the challenges that we during my 2-year tenure was basically COVID. We were soon after I went there, that's when COVID struck. But the defense forces, you can't stop working. You can't tell pilots to not fly for 1 month. Their training has to continue. It's an everyday affair. So if pilots have to fly, the technicians have to prepare the aircraft, and logistics channels have to continue moving. The administration has to move. So we worked out various ways and means by which, and of course, the country and the government depended on us, on our helicopter and transport fleet, which did a wonderful job. So we managed all this. We kept barriers to ensure that nobody else fell sick and nobody passed on the COVID issue. And yet, I think when we came out of it, I think all the steps that we took was wonderful. So that was a very different kind of challenge, but something, at the end of the day, you feel good that as a team, we have achieved something.
Yeah.
And of course, to cap my career, the chief and the higher-ups had the confidence in me to make me the Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Western Air Command, which is the largest command of the Air Force, and actually the most operational command, because Western Air Command, based at Delhi, the entire, I won't say the entire, but most of the border with Pakistan, and also the northern border, and entire Jammu and Kashmir, of course, the hotspot as far as Pakistan is concerned, comes under me. So it was a challenging 1 year that I spent as a CNC, and but exciting. And I refused to sit too much in my office. I used to travel a lot to all the bases. And of course, when I used to travel, I used to fly with the boys so that I don't lose touch with the ground, because that's required, you know. And whether it is flying an attack helicopter, which I'd never done before, or flying a night rally mission into Leh Ladakh in a C-130 Hercules, such a big transport aircraft with night vision devices, which I had not done even in a fighter, or flying a Rafale or a Su-30 or a Jaguar, and of course the MiG-21s, which we still had 2 squadrons with us. It kept me in touch with the junior most guys in the Air Force, because sometimes when you're sitting in headquarters and you're giving decisions and you are not in touch with the field, you could take wrong decisions. So I think that was a great part. You know, traveling from a place like Leh Ladakh, and of course beyond that, places which most Indians won't even have heard of. Of course, Siachen glaciers, well known, down up to the deserts of Nal, Bikaner in Rajasthan. It's very terrain. So yeah, and that's it. 31st December 2022, I retired, and now I'm a retired guy. That's in short my tenure in the Air Force. Yeah.
Sir, as the Air Officer Commander-in-Chief of the Western Air Command, you led one of the largest operational commands in the Indian Air Force. Can you elaborate on the challenges and achievements during that tenure?
Yeah. Like I said, first of all, it was the biggest command of the Air Force. It's almost 1/3 of the Indian Air Force. You know, we've got 7 commands, but then this itself takes a third of the Air Force, and I had nearly 50,000 personnel under me. So you can imagine that it's a huge HR. Even from an HR point, it's quite a task in hand. Maximum number of bases, right from the Rafale down to the MiG-21. We had all the fighters. We had the C-130 and the C-17 transport aircraft, the only command to have the C-17. Then as far as the helicopters were concerned, the attack helicopters, Mi-17s. So a varied and large number of aircraft, like you mentioned in your introduction, that I used to often tell my command guys, we are like a mini Air Force. You know, if you look at the Air Forces across the world, we were like a mini Air Force. So whether it was training of pilots, whether it was having the required number of pilots ready for any contingency, which we had, and having logistics channels going in difficult times, or whether looking after maintenance or Adam, these were of course, the primary challenges. But then again, I can't keep repeating this. I had a wonderful team, you know, and I never ever heard anybody saying no for no, it's not possible. Though there were many guys who would come back and say, "Sir, the way you have said it may not be the way to go about, but I think if we follow this path, we could do it better." So tell them, great. I would love these ideas coming from the younger guys in the command, and then I would, often directly speak to the COs and flight commanders in the bases and ask their opinion. Some of them would feel a little hesitant to tell the CNC, but I think within a short time they understood that he's not asking to poke us. It is basically to get a job done well and as efficiently as possible. So yeah, exciting times, wonderful times.
Yeah. So leading the Surya Kiran aerobatic team earned you a presidential award. Can you share memorable experiences and challenges faced during your time as the commanding officer of the team?
Yeah, the Suryakiran aerobatic team is very close to my heart because, like I said, we were the pioneer members, 7, 8 of us who started with the team. And we had to fly the Kiran jet trainer, which is a single engine jet trainer. It's a subsonic aircraft. So it's not a capable aircraft in that sense, like, let's say, the Americans, the US Air Force team is on the F-16, or the US Naval team is on the F-18. No, it was not. So people had a lot of hesitations. They said, okay, we'll form a 4 aircraft team. From 4, we said, within very quick time, we said we can go up to a 6 aircraft. From 6, we said we could go up to a 9 aircraft. And people said, on the Kiran aircraft, to do aerobatics, loops, barrel rolls, inverted flying, all these kind of maneuvers, maybe, the higher ups those days. I was a youngster then, relatively, but we proved that you could do anything with that aircraft. And I was especially proud that I was flying the Kiran aircraft and not one of the later generation trainer aircraft, because the Kiran is a purely Indian-made aircraft by HAL Bangalore. So even when we were displaying in Thailand or in Myanmar on our way to Singapore and back, and of course the Singapore Air Show, I used to tell them, my pride, apart from the team members, is this aircraft, because it's our aircraft. And I wish, the IJT program had been successful. Then maybe we would have had our successor, not the Hawk, maybe on the IJT. But of course, that's a different story. So, like I keep repeating, that tenure was memorable because of the team which we had and the kind of displays that we had. And I think in my 3 years tenure as the commanding officer, there was not a single display that which was we were assigned to and we couldn't do. I remember even when we were coming back from Singapore, we had to reach Pokhran. We had a display planned at Pokhran, and the time was very short. And we had to ferry back, make sure that we reach Jaisalmer in time. I remember we reached in the afternoon, and next morning we had to go on display, but we managed that. So hats off to all my guys who knew that this is a job to be done and it has to be done in the right way, come what may. So they would not tell me that, sir, we've been out for such a long time, been working so hard, and give us a break. No, never. So Surya Kiran was absolutely, what should I say, something which is very close to my heart. Yeah, wonderful 3 years as a CEO of the team. And they're doing very well now. The present team on the Hawk aircraft, I'm in touch with the commanding officer of the team, and it gives me a lot of pride when I see them doing so well. I'm sure some of you may have seen when at Ahmedabad when the finals of the cricket match was there. They were tasked to fly past, and I felt wonderful. Even though the end result of the match was not so great, but just seeing the Surya Kiran made my day. Yeah.
So how and when did you develop an interest in corporate governance?
Well, actually, in services, whether you're in the Army, Navy, or the Air Force, people feel that we are sort of disconnected with corporate governance. But now when I look back, especially having done this wonderful course through WDC, I've seen there are so many similarities. We may not be called a corporate, but the way we work, the way we need to, work with this large pool of people under us with limited resources. How do we maximize what we need to do? No, these are all things which I think sort of gets ingrained in you over the years in the Air Force. So once I retired, and I said, I'm too young to retire and go out of business. Okay. I think in today's world, 60 years, not old at all. So, and I knew I'm physically fit, mentally agile. So why not look into a second career? And that's when I got inputs about WDC, and I decided to do this course. And I really look forward, I mean, with all the help and support from you all, look forward to getting into the corporate world, because I'm sure with the kind of experience that we have gained over 4 decades of being in the Air Force, not just the Air Force, like I said, diplomatic skills and various opportunities that have been presented to us. I'm sure I can do a lot in companies. And of course, you see, India is on a rise. I mean, it's a known thing all across the globe. Recently, when I was traveling abroad, I was so happy to hear a taxi driver in one of the European cities. The moment he heard that I'm from India, he said, "Oh, you're from India. India is a great country." And he was not just saying that to, please me or something. We are doing extremely well.
Yeah.
And with the kind of leadership we have in Delhi, um, all of us need to do our bit to take it forward. And with the young demography, youngsters like you, maybe some older guys like us who have a little better probably leadership skills and who can mentor you all, give the right guidance. We need to help our country jump to the 3 trillion, 5 trillion, 10 trillion economy. We are almost there as the third largest economy of the world, and we have to go beyond that. So why should all this experience go waste? And that's what got me into thinking. And I said, yes, this is an opportunity which I would love to do. It would be a new challenge. But well, that's what we've been built up in the Air Force. Take up challenges and resolve them at the earliest.
Yeah. As a corporate governance expert, what values do you bring to the table?
Okay. I'm not a corporate governance expert, but I hope to be after some years. The biggest thing is, adaptability. In the Air Force, people think that in the Air Force, as a pilot, you are only flying, and so it's a same job. It is not so. You're taught basic flying, but when you change from one aircraft to the other, or as you grow senior, suddenly you're made the base commander of a large base. You have not been trained how to do that, but you have to learn that job running. And the time normally as a base commander is anywhere from a year and a half to 2 years. In those 2 years, you have to produce the goods. So that is one thing which being in the defense forces teaches you how to adapt quickly, maybe a couple of months, 3 months, at best 6 months to learn the ropes and then start producing results. So that's one thing which I'm quite confident I can bring to the table wherever I work. Now, being in the defense forces, discipline and teamwork comes very naturally to us. And of course, when I talk about discipline, I'm not talking about, that if you have to report for work at 8 o'clock, you better be there at 8 o'clock. And of course, those are things which are also important, like what the Japanese do. But I'm saying that when a job is given, after that, it is how to do the job, to do it how well, and well within the time frame that you have decided. After that, there is no, Sundays or holidays or late nights, or there's no looking back at that. You have to get it done if you are convinced. Once you are convinced that that's a job to be done. So uh, that kind of integrity, which is sort of into us, I'm sure that will also help in developing wherever I go next.
Yeah. So, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with respect to changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see in the future with the advent of all these new technologies like IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, Web 3.0, etc.?
Yeah. You know, like the saying goes, there's no constant, but change is the only constant. And especially so in a technology-intensive service like the Indian Air Force. Like I said, a class of aircraft that I flew, the MiG-21s, I mean, earlier, my most operational aircraft, MiG-21s, we had, analog instruments, whereas from the MiG-21, when we went on to the Mirage 2000, Sukhoi 30, and now the Rafale, I mean, it's a huge technology gap, should I say? In the MiG-21 class of aircraft, what you needed was a lot of pilot skills. You need more pilot skills and lesser of systems on board. Whereas today, when you fly, let's say a Rafale, the pilot skills are required, but maybe not to the extent that would be required in the MiG-21 because the aircraft have become relatively easier to fly. But the technology on board, the systems on board are so large that the pilot has to be really at the top of his game to make the best use of the aircraft.
Yeah.
And when I used to travel, especially as a CNC, I had the fortune of flying all these aircraft. So I would see these youngsters, how adaptable they were and how quickly they could get on this new technology. And even not just aircraft, even things like our missile systems, surface-to-air missile systems. It's a huge jump. We had to induct a new system in WSC when I was CNC, and it was a massive jump from what we had earlier. But we did that, and I think from whom we had bought it, we taught them a lesson or two. So that's the kind of how people, look into these things and take it forward. And our logistics changes, the way we work. The Air Force has, even by the time I retired, we had almost become 70 or 80% paperless working environment. By now, I'm sure it's 100%. And our logistics channels, they have improved tremendously the last 5 or 10 years, thanks to all this new technology. So yes, technology takes you quite far, and every day you have to learn something new, otherwise you get left behind. But having said that, I still keep telling my people when I was in command, I said, I still believe that it is that man behind the machine. When I say behind the machine, I'm not just meaning the pilot. It could be a logistics officer handling a logistics chain. It could be the administrative officer looking after the administration of the station. Finally, the buck stops there. So sometimes in this present-day world of technology and AI and data analytics and all that, we tend to lose sight of the man, which we shouldn't. He or she is still the most important cog in the wheel. That's my take.
Yep. So we're building a community here of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. What are your thoughts about this initiative taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful initiative. And like I earlier mentioned, the way our country is progressing, and now the new Companies Act, and with the government trying to ensure that our economy only grows. And how does the economy grow? With companies growing, right? So corporate governance is the essence of that. Yeah. So in that sense, the course which I undertook, very exhaustive course, and really opened my eyes to a lot of new issues which I was not aware of earlier. And even this initiative, of course, I can't comment too much. This is a limited time that I've spent with you all, but I'm sure with time, with inputs that you get from all of us who have been with you all will constantly improve and take it to the next level. So I wish you all the very best in making greater corporate leaders in future.
Thank you so much, sir. It was great conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you so much for joining us today, and wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably has expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. Thank you so much once again, sir.
Thank you, Tanay. Like I said, great interacting with you. Thank you very much.
Same. Have a great day ahead, sir.
Same. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.